Well, hello friends, Coach Bob with you today, and today, man, have I got a great video for you. We are going to be talking about why, the why in Spyder. You know, there is actually a reason. It's more than just a cute spelling of a word, and the same holds true with the Riker. But before we get going into this interesting conversation on this beautiful machine we all know and love as the Can-Am Spyder, please do me a favor, subscribe to the channel. You know I would greatly appreciate it. So why the why in Spyder? Well, it's because of the frame. It's a Y design. So a quick rundown on the design of the frame for those who don't know. You've got a single monoshock rear end, and then you have a frame, and then you have two A-arms in the front that go off to the left and to the right where your front tires connect. And so it's shaped like a Y. And that's why the Spyder is called the Spyder with a Y, and the Riker is called the Riker with a Y. So is it a gimmick, or is it something that really benefits us as riders? Well, I'm going to tell you it's way more than a gimmick. It's what does truly make the Spyder the Spyder. It's what makes all of us, whether we realize it or not, love this thing so much. It's more than just a smooth ride, although that's part of it. I want to say that the Spyder, the first time you get on it, you're going to be really, really shocked. The first thing that is part of the design that you're going to realize is that this thing has power steering. And power steering, whenever you put it on something like this, if you come from a motorcycle background where you have a triple tree up front, so you have a middle section, right, that has bearings and that goes through the frame, and then you have your two fork legs. And so those triple trees right there, when you turn them, they're spinning on a ball bearing with the weight of a front tire, and then you're dealing with counter steering. So it's designed to have an opposing force. The Spyder's not that way. Number one, you don't ever counter steer. You steer, you want to go left, you go left. You want to go right, you turn right. On a motorcycle, you may not realize you do it, but you do. When you want to turn left, you push left. When you want to go right, you push right, and you lean. The Spyder is completely different. You steer, you want to go right, you actually turn to the right. And because the steering is power steering, it requires very little force of your hand, and that, when you come from a motorcycle background, really makes it quite disconcerting as you're going down, a highway at high speeds, and you're used to having to apply more force, and all of a sudden you feel like you're all over the road, because you are all over the road because you're oversteering. And that's a normal transition. Once you get it, you'll have it, and then you can even jump on a motorcycle, ride your motorcycle, hop off your motorcycle, hop on the Spyder, and you'll just adjust your brain. Once it makes that mind muscle connection, that hassle goes away. I've actually known people who have bought Spyders and sold them for that very reason. They'd ridden motorcycles for 40 years and they were like, man, I sold that thing. I really wish I wouldn't have. I never gave myself the time to transition. It was uncomfortable the first time I got on it, and therefore I just never got back on it. I didn't ride it hardly at all, and then I sold it. And now they regret it, and they're talking about, one particular guy is actually talking about buying another Spyder after watching videos and hearing discussions like these about how sensitive the steering is and how you just have to overcome that. But once you develop it, it's fine. But that's all part of that Y design, is that beautiful, sensitive steering. A little more background on the suspension is this suspension was designed in partnership with Bosch. That's B-O-S-C-H. Yes. You all would know them more in the automobile industry. But the vehicle stability system that is created for this was done with BRP and Bosch, and it really works well. It's what gives us that planted feeling. It's what gives us our ABS and the anti-roll characteristics that this thing has during turns. So there was a lot of thought that goes into this. A lot of people, they go, oh, it's just a snowmobile with rubber wheels on it, or it's just a Miata. I hear that kind of stuff a lot. You can say what you want. It's not a motorcycle. It's not this. It's not that. Well, is it something completely out of the fray. I call it a motorcycle. To me, it is a motorcycle. It's a three-wheeled motorcycle. It's a reverse trike, whatever you want to call it. Would my Harley friends disagree? Probably. And if you, I'm sure if you disagree, I don't have to tell you to sound off in the comments. You'll make your, you know, yes, like Twain said, a lie gets halfway around the world before the truth gets its shoes laced. I mean, that's just how it is. But it is a motorcycle, albeit a three-wheeled motorcycle. Two wheels up front and one wheel in the back is a superior design to a traditional trike. It just is. It for many, many reasons. And we're going to talk about why this Y design, oh, look at that, why this Y design works so well. And as you guys know, I'm in Florida. Virtually every road here is perfectly straight. I mean, like an arrow. For me to find winding roads, I have to seek them out. But I have one up here, and I'll talk as I go around these little curves. One of the natural outcomes of anything, you know, if you've ever driven a sports car or anything for that matter, and whenever you watch MotoGP racing, the number one reason for accidents on MotoGP is losing the front end chatter and the washout. And for a rider, whether you're experienced or unexperienced, front end stability is critical. So putting the two up front creates front end stability. Now I'm going to do myself a service here, or disservice, whatever. I'm going to ride perfectly vertical. I'm not going to lean. I'm just going to ride sitting here straight up. Now the centrifugal force makes my body want to lean in because it is pushing me out as I go around these curves. Now this thing is absolutely planted, and the anti-roll on this is unbelievable. On a traditional trike, it does not feel that way. I can assure you, I've ridden them, I've helped build them, so I do understand what I'm talking about on that. Coach Vic rode a traditional trike for a couple of years, and I helped put it together for her. We did a you know, an electronic shift made with a blipper for a two-wheeled motorcycle, and put a little thumb button there for her to upshift and downshift. And I can tell you, in the curves, it was very disconcerting. It did not feel like this at all. This thing will absolutely eat up the turns. It is super stable in the turns. And if I lean, which because I'm a motorcycle guy, this makes me feel way more comfortable. Having the counterbalance there, although it's not really necessary, it just makes me happy and makes me feel well. Does it give me the opportunity maybe to go a little faster in the turn? Maybe. But is it required? Absolutely not. The design of this thing is spectacular. So the number one outcome of having those two A-arms out there is just vehicle stability in the turn. It's beautiful. So what's another benefit of this beautiful Y-frame design? Well, I'm going to tell you, it is stopping. Now, I want you guys to know I am a motorcycle rider. Am I a motorcycle connoisseur? Yes, I am of sorts. I have a lot of motorcycles. I've had a ton. You know, at the beginning of the year, I sold 2 motorcycles, and recently I picked up a new motorcycle. Will I share it on the channel? I might. You know, I've been known to share my other bikes for like Two Wheel Tuesday. What is it, you may ask? Well, there's a hint for you right there. But I'm going to tell you, regardless of what you ride, your stopping force, everyone knows where is the majority of your stopping power, whether it's on a motorcycle or a car, it is in the front end. The front is what stops you. The back assists in the stopping, but the front is what stops you, because that's where all of the weight transfers when we go to stop. The front end dives, and all of the force is put down on that front end. So this thing having 2 wheels in the front, and the fact that the brakes are linked, it makes it very, very simple. So I've got nothing behind me, nothing in front of me. I'm just going to simply get on the brakes right here. I'm going to be at 40 miles an hour. Let's get down to 40. Well, that's close enough. 43. And I'm not even going to hammer them. I'm just going to hit them a little bit. I'm going to tell you, I didn't even have to hammer the brakes, and this thing stops. I'll do another one here. I'll stop a little faster. You see that? I can tell you right now, there is not a two-wheeled motorcycle that I own that will remotely compare to that. And I'm going to tell you this, the Harley that I have, which I love, by the way, will not even come close with the weight and the design. It just won't do it. I love them. I've got a Triumph Tiger. The design on it is superior than the Harley. It's more modern. That's why. It stops better than the Harley, but it won't compare to this either. I've got a 1984 BMW R65, and it doesn't have ABS, obviously. That you need a football field to stop that little guy. I mean, once it starts getting crazy on you, that front end, man, you could lose it pretty quick. It's light, and it doesn't have any electronics on it at all. But it's a ball to ride. I love riding it. So I want you to know that the stopping is an outcome of that Y-frame design. Having one wheel up front is just inferior when it comes to stopping, and there's no debating that. There's not. It's like a simple pencil and paper and basic design. I can take any tri-glide, and I love the tri-glides. I think they're awesome. I got to ride one yesterday, as a matter of fact, and it was an exceptional experience. But for the person that was on the tri-glide that got to ride my Spyder, he's like, this thing stops crazy. This thing, it's actually freaky. How quick it turns, how stable it is, and how well it stops. He loves his Harley Rumble, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's why I'm saying I'm not putting it down. But when it comes to stability and stopping, there is no comparison. There's zero comparison on that. There are other points that you could compare and maybe like or dislike or agree or disagree, but when it comes to handling and stopping, the Y-frame design on this, it just closes the case. So are there any other benefits to it? And I'm going to tell you there are a lot of benefits to it, but here's one in particular. The suspension design, what it has loaned itself to be, the two wheels up front on the A-arms, associated with the monoshock in the back, creating that Y. It creates this beautiful balance as you're going over bumps. There's no comparison in that as well. Having an A-arm design like it has up front, when you're going over a rougher road, this thing, people that come from a two-wheel background will say, man, this thing bounces you around. I don't like it. Well, all I can tell you is get on a traditional trike and have those two wheels in the back bouncing your butt around, as opposed to an A-arm eating up the vibration in the front. I've ridden trikes with the solid rear axle and the coil-over type suspension with shocks and coil springs. It's way rougher than this, way rougher, and not as near as stable as having the A-arm design. There's a reason when, like, an automobile manufacturer like, say, Porsche or Alfa Romeo doesn't have a solid front axle. Jeep does. Get in a Jeep. Tell me how well it handles. Even if you lower it and put a fancy suspension on it, you leave that solid front axle. Because what happens is when the left loses force, the right gains, and it creates this bounce effect, and it's just not a very pleasant effect, certainly not on a motorcycle. But at least it's not on the front. I mean, it would be worse if you had that solid axle on the front of a motorcycle. That would be deadly. Anyway, that's a discussion for another day. But the A-arms up front are superior to the solid axle or the standard type suspension that I'm seeing on other motorcycles. So we know now that it's going to give us a smoother ride, it's going to give us better stopping, and it's going to give us better handling. And then when you accompany it with the vehicle stability system that was created on this thing, with the power steering and all of that, it just really is excellent. There's no other way of putting it. It's just excellent. So the question that I get often is, what can go wrong, Coach? I mean, you know, it's not perfect. And you're right. You're absolutely right. There is nothing out there that's perfect. There is not a perfect motorcycle. It's funny, you know, I bought a lot of motorcycles, and I had a salesman one day ask me, they go, Coach, if you know you want this motorcycle, if you buy it, it's going to make you happy. And I always tell them, no, a motorcycle will not make me happy. I'm a happy guy. But I understand that motorcycles are machines, and machines have problems. And whenever you have a problem, you have to deal with it. You may be dealing with a manufacturer, you may be dealing with a dealer, you may be dealing with parts acquisition, turning a wrench, breaking something, stranded on the side of the road. You know, it's a machine. So understand that all machines have problems. The other thing that you have to realize is the more complex the machine, the greater propensity of minor problems always arise. So is the Spyder prone to a lot of problems? I would say no more than other brands. Certainly not, you know, the European brands. I would say the most dependable motorcycle I have is a 1984 BMW. The darn thing has nothing on it. When you hit the starter, it cranks. It always cranks. It's not refined, and people won't buy it, and you know, it doesn't cost anything either. I mean, my insurance on it's like $60 a year. It's crazy, and the darn thing, you know, like I said, it's not a smooth ride. It's not a pleasant ride. It's a fun ride. It's a nostalgic ride. So the other thing, you know, we talked about anti-roll and stability, but I want to dispel a myth, you know, about tipping. You know, we always hear about tipping over. If you were a kid like me, you grew up, you had the big wheel, right? Every dude had a big wheel, and you would take that thing, man, and you could, because it sat, basically your butt was on the ground, all of your weight was over the two back wheels, and you could take that thing and spin it around, right? Could you flip the big wheel? Yes, you can, man. In fact, I flipped many a big wheel in my driveway. We used to love to wet that smooth concrete that was under your carport. We'd squirt that thing with a water hose. We'd go roll down a hill and slam a hard turn. There's a bunch of cyclists there, huh? We'd slam that hard turn and basically pull a 360 on that thing. It was awesome. Now, a traditional trike is going to be more prone to rolling and tipping than this, obviously, because most of the force, again, is on the front end, and that's where it goes. That's where it goes. So can you tip a Spyder? Is it possible? Anything's possible, baby. You can just about, if you try hard enough to do something stupid, you can do it. I've seen them tip over, but normally, but the only time I've ever seen one tip over, it was either one of two scenarios. The person ran in a ditch, so they were on an angular incline, and they rolled because they were going in that direction like that. They hit the brake, and then the front tire hit something in the ditch, and it just cartwheeled them. And the other one was just a moron online. There were a bunch of leaves in the front yard, so he had blown a bunch of leaves in the street and decided to do like some fishtailing on it, and when he did that, he got the Spyder sideways, and he ended up flipping it. But to me, both of those scenarios, you're either doing something dumb, or you are in a position where you're going to be in an accident. And there's nothing that when you get in those positions that you're not going to flip, that you're not going to have the potential of flipping or rolling or something like that. You know, I've pushed this thing pretty hard many times, and I've never even come close to flipping this thing. I can tell you, I was getting on the interstate one day, and it was raining, and there was a lot of oil and stuff on that on-ramp. We were up north, and as I was hammering down that rear end, I could feel it drifting around. It got my attention. But I was going way over the recommended speed. And then when you accompany that with water and oil, but I never was in a position that I felt like I was going to lose control, or that it was going to be that it was gonna flip. Had I been on any motorcycle that I own, I would have been on the ground. I would have just been on the ground. There was nothing I could do because the road was covered in oil and water, and that's just the way it was. The other thing that the Spyder lends well to, and this is something that I think is what separates it from a lot of things, is the fact that a beginner, someone who's never ridden in their life, or someone who is super duper experienced can get on this thing and really enjoy it. And that is rare. That's rare, especially a big touring machine. You get on a Goldwing and you've never ridden before, you're just asking to be carried off in a box, man. I'm telling you. Goldwings, they're beautiful, they're powerful, they're awesome. But it ain't a rookie bike, that's for sure. You need to know what you're doing. There's a lot of power in that 6-cylinder, yes, I said it, 6-cylinder engine that you're driving. The Harley, with all of its torque, you get on that thing and you snap that throttle, you're going to end up spinning that rear end around and end up on your hiney. But this is more refined and it's more stable. So you can get on it. You're not dealing with a clutch. You're not dealing with a lot of mechanics to ride this. The design works well, and it's very confidence inspiring. If you're a more experienced rider, again, if you're coming from a two-wheeled environment, then it's going to be a little different for you. You're going to feel that feeling of hypersensitivity in the steering, that sort of thing. But otherwise, there's zero transition. You may even be, going, man, I'm not doing enough. I need to be doing more. Between the linked braking, the nice throttle response, the confidence-inspired handling, the Spyder to me is an absolute no-brainer. It's a no-brainer. Does it mean that you can't enjoy anything else? Absolutely not. Again, like I said, I ride everything. I've got all kinds of stuff that I ride. But I will always have a Spyder in my garage, and I will tell you that anytime I'm going to tour, there's no question about what I'm getting on. Now, will I do a 200-mile trip on a different bike or an adventure trip on a different bike? Obviously, I will. But if I'm going to do big miles, that 500-600 miles a day, and cross countries, and be dealing with changes in climate, and rain, and changes in surfaces on pavement, you can just put me on the Spyder. I'm a lot safer there, and I love the feeling of it, and I still get to be a motorcycle rider out there in the world experiencing it. All right, so there you have it. The Y in Spyder is much more than a gimmick. It's the real thing. It's the real thing, baby. All right. Well, I'm just going to continue cruising this morning. I went out this morning. It's just a beautiful, beautiful day, nice and cool. It's in the 70s, which for here is just awesome. Well, there you have it. Another one in the book. So you do me a favor. You go out, buy the motorcycle of your dreams, eat right, take care of yourself, and remember, if you're not having fun, you are most definitely doing it wrong. Now you go seize the day, and I'll see you on the road real soon. I always get stuck behind these little SUVs, but I couldn't go fast anyway. It's a neighborhood.